Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverill, joined by my co-host, as always, Marky Davison. How you doing, mate?
What's going on, Matty? We're in the playoffs. How good's that? How good is this week? Tomorrow, actually, the playoffs started now. The Bengals and the Raiders are playing right now. If you're catching us live too, so that's very exciting. Then we have the Pats versus Bills as well today. Everything's happening. There's 14 teams to win for the Super Bowl. A lot of fans say we haven't got a chance, but, you know, like that line from Jim Carrey, so you're telling me there's a chance. And there's always a chance in the dance. And I think, you know, I had a lot of fans on my Steel Nation Australia this week ask me, why do we even bother? Would you rather, you know, go to the playoffs and lose? Of course. I'd rather be in the dance than be on the outside looking in. And there are a lot of NFL teams saying that we don't deserve to be there. And that's a load of hogwash. We deserve to be there 100%. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, that's it. I mean, you know, it's not the first time the Steelers have been in their history gone into the playoffs as, you know, not the best team. And you know, they've come away and really done something. So, you know, I think, you know, as a Steelers fan, you sit there and have a hope, and the rest of the league sits there and goes, "Oh yeah, no," and you hold out that hope. You wave the terrible towel, you yell at the TV, and you know, who knows what's gonna happen. But you know, it's just an incredible situation that we find ourselves in. You know, as Steelers fans, and in the dance, and Big Ben, and all the chances to make it, and you know, we've overcome all these hurdles, and here we are.
Can I bring up one point, Matty? I looked through the standings yesterday or the day before, right? There's only, we won 9 games, right? The leader won 12 games, which is the Titans. We beat the Titans. Can we stop all this nonsense? Once you get in the playoffs, it's every man for themselves, and that's it. Okay? There is no best team. This year, there is no best team. I'm telling you, there's not. If I saw on Twitter the other day, I think it was for NFL Australia, and they put up a percentage of who would win the Super Bowl, right? The Green Bay Packers got 40% out of all of Australia's votes to win the Super Bowl. But I find that very comical as well, because I can't tell you who's going to win the Super Bowl. There's 14 teams who can win it. And to say that we're the worst team is by a very slim margin. We won 9 games, and the Tennessee Titans won 12. And we beat them. So, come on, man. We've got to stop with the nonsense. I know it's going to be a very hard game to go against the Chiefs. For sure, it's going to be a massively hard game. But at the end of the day, how Big Ben said it best, "Oh, we're going to get beat by 20 points. You know, we suck. We're terrible." Come on, man. Let's enjoy this ride. And I've been preaching that the whole time, the whole season with you, Matty. You and I have been on an up and down season, right? Haven't we? Some weeks
we have,
we feel really bad, and you know.
We have, and you know, you always, you know, we talk about this. You try and give that super fan perspective all the time, and you know, I try and give, you know, analytics and you know, other, you know, draft stuff and all the rest of it. But I want to go back to what we said countless times when we reviewed the last season. You know, straight after it, about this time, you know, a year ago, and then the same thing during the preseason. And we sat there when we did the records. We said it there too. How many times did I say, and I mean, I know you're in agreement with me, but the fact that didn't want to see a Steelers team 11-0 that didn't know how to play through adversity. What have we seen this year? This team can play through adversity. Even in games they haven't won, they've come back. You know, there when you talk about Vikings and Chargers. This team has playoff, what I'd like to call it, playoff steel to it, right? Now, you and I could be sitting here right now, and then tomorrow the game, and it's 30 points and whatever. But at least we had, as you said before, there's a chance. At least we went there. At least we had the chance to do it. If you don't play well, fine. But the other thing about this game to me is I think we're in a similar situation in some ways, dare I say it, to the Cleveland Browns last year, right? Everyone sat there and went, the Browns had got like no chance. The Steelers almost, you know, beat you with, you know, a bunch of key players out. Come in, bad snap from Pouncey, some bad poor throws, some bad defense, and the tide just shifted. Now, I'm not saying we're going to end up, 20 plus points in the first quarter against the Chiefs, but it can happen. It can happen.
Wouldn't that be great to see that?
Right?
Matty,
So you gotta sit here and hope. And even though I look at the live chat numbers right now, this is pretty high for most weeks. I think people are really cracking on and on the bandwagon. And we got to say hi to Pittsburgh Owen and Sean Manahan, Ruin It Randy. That's a great name. Ryan O'Toole, John Knox, Snowman's in there. NVRDNDR. I don't know how he wants us to pronounce that one. Brad Jewett, Nathan Ollie. There's just some, you're just getting fired up for this game, right? You're just getting absolutely fired up for this game. And, you talked a little bit there about what Big Ben said. Big Ben's mucking around. Like, Big Ben knows.
I am so confident in what he said. I feel very confident in the way that how he feels very confident. I'm a bit scared for the Chiefs, to be honest, because there's so many takes out there now that a lot of Chiefs fans just say we're going to be a warm-up game. And maybe you're right. Maybe the comparison is right from last year where the Steelers treated the Browns like a warm-up game and we didn't take care of business and beat them in week 17 like I wish we did. They come into our house and they gave us one. That was a terrible game. Now, you go.
Okay.
You go.
No, go.
I'm just going to say
I'll send us down a rabbit hole.
The Steelers now have nothing to lose. Everything to play for, right? Big Ben's last game yet again, but wasn't it Big Ben's last game versus the Browns? And we played pretty competitive in that game. I think every person on this team is getting better. And the reason why I say that is you look at what happened with Ray. He's playing pretty good football at the moment. No, he's not a star. He's not a superstar. He's not, the best one out there. But he's buying into the game plan. And that fourth down we got was amazing. It was absolutely amazing catch to move the sticks. And we trusted in Boz. We got the field goal and we won. This team is starting to feel something. Yes, now if we go and crash and burn, what do you do? But at the same time, I want to bring it back to the analogies I made throughout the season about the fans losing their fan card and throwing it on the ground, stepping on it and trotting on it. And like I said, you and I are on the train. We are shoveling the coal into the train. We are leading it forward. If you want to hate on the Steelers, sit back near the luggage, mate. Because this is the time.
No, mate, it's off the luggage. I'm Indiana Jones. I'm throwing them off the train. Get out. See you later, alligator. Like
some fans still dirt. They still don't think we have a chance, and it doesn't overly matter if we win or lose. But where's the passion for your team? And like Jeff says all the time, and Jeff's the big man on campus here. But this podcast is passion based and fan based. We get the fans involved, and I'm just saying this is the best place to be right now. The underdogs going into the Chiefs Stadium where they think they're going to win, like by a mile. And if we can keep up with them and have a chance, and that TJ's going off. Like, I'm getting chills talking about this kind of stuff. I'm just saying, what not better way to get around the Steelers than right now? Your fan card needs to be in your pocket, and you need to show it everywhere, wherever you go. Not on the ground, because they still want to throw us to the wolves. But I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well, this is it, right? And then all these fake fans that you and Deep talk about as well, they're all going to jump back on in 2 weeks' time when we're in the AFC Championship game, and that's what I mean. No, trains left the station. You weren't on the moving train. Yeah. See you later. And and unlike Akhello Witherspoon, you don't get to jump back on this season, right? Like, so, yeah, I just.
Well, that was DJ. DJ said that.
Yeah, no, but Tomlin said that about Witherspoon. Remember, he was it's very fast-moving train, and he's got on at a later station, and he needed time to get acclimated and what have you. So, as I said earlier, there are times when no one thought the Pittsburgh Steelers deserved to be in it, and what we did to get Jerome Bettis that Super Bowl. Look, as I said, next week, the odds suggest, just like they did last week, that we're sitting here talking about the off season. But hey, like we've still seen a Steelers team with, rookies in major starting positions, particularly on offense, really come through and lead us to playoffs. And we talk about this all the time. Teams like Detroit, not there. There are teams like the Vikings that really, they fired their coach over it. They should have been there. Miami could have.
The Ravens aren't there either.
The Ravens aren't there either. The 8-3 Ravens. What was it? 8-3.
It's 8-3, and they lost 6 in a row to go 8-9. Come on, man. And what we're not allowed to be there. The Steelers aren't allowed to be there. And we versed the Ravens twice, beat them twice, beat the Browns twice. Yes, we lost to the Bengals twice. Who cares, right? We beat the Bills. We beat the Titans. We should have beat the Green Bay Packers. I'm still angry about that Joe being offside. You know what I'm saying? I just think, yeah. Look, you've just got to rally around your team. And I think we have a pretty good shot this time. Just from the confidence level of the players. That makes sense.
Well, and I don't think we've necessarily seen, look, when things got bad, the players, did in all the press conferences have very taken care of business style language, which is something we talk about a lot on this show. But I think when you look at it now, there is this air of confidence, right? And you look at they had a stinker against the Chiefs. But as we talked about, Dave Schofield talked about this on one of his shows, is if you're going to have a stinker in the season, you may as well have the stinker against the team that no one expects you to beat, right? But we beat the Titans, we beat the Ravens twice, we went out and beat the Browns when we needed to. We've won the games that we needed to get into the playoffs, and we've won games that have meant a lot, right? And they've learned how to win, and we've done it, and we've had a couple of overtime wins. I think that's a big deal. When you win in overtime, the pressure is ratcheted up that notch. You have to sweat it out even more. You have to delve into that extra 8% that a lot of people never delve into, whether they're a professional athlete or not. You've got to get there, and you've got to, be able to handle it. And that's playoff football, right? Now, I saw on another, I think it might have been the previous show with, obviously the trio, Jeff Hartman, Dave Schofield, and Brian Anthony Davis, but, bad. But, I saw a prediction somewhere, I think it was Jeff on that, but I might be wrong, that talked about the Chiefs getting out to a lead. If they get out to a lead, fine. I think the Steelers can catch that. Now, I'm not talking a lead of 20 points. I'm talking
exactly. It needs to be about
14 points.
Yes.
But I'm not as worried about that. But you know what? We've talked about it all year as well. We haven't seen the Steelers. Yes, they've had some first quarter touchdowns, but they've not had a awesome first quarter. Imagine if they turn up and do that this week and they shell shock the Chiefs. It would just change the tune of the game.
Well, I think with Ben's confidence and Ben's answer, that there are a lot of people that I saw on the Twitterverse maybe didn't really understand the sarcasm. That to me is just confidence, and same with a bit of DJ, and now Juju's coming back too. Fryermuth is firing up. Claypool I think he's playing a bit better as well for a receiver. He's a bit more mature in some of the actions that I've seen over the last 2 games. Yep. Najee is running the rock fantastically. So there's a bit of a star power around this team now, and the offensive line is getting better. Still not the best team. I don't think this team can score 30 points or 30 something like that. I can't even remember what my prediction was, but it was about to win by 3 points. I don't see them scoring 35 or touchdowns. I see Ben scoring 1 TD or 2 and Najee getting 1 and maybe a few field goals. But this team has matured in the last few weeks with that Browns win for Ben. You saw how well they played to get the sacks, and going into Ravenland to get that win as well. To then beat them and have a chance to go to the playoffs. And a lot of people out there, this is what I find very funny about the internet and all. And there's a lot of opinions, I get that, even my own. However, there's a lot of fans saying, NFL sayings, you tied with the Lions. The Lions beat the Cardinals. That doesn't mean anything. Okay. Yeah. Yes, we tied with the Lions, but there was 2 key fumbles from Muth and from DJ. That's not on coaching. And this is the point you get to, I'm so happy and thankful that we are in the playoffs, but we still have that chance that if they go out there and put some pressure on Mahomes, and if his receivers aren't, getting back to the ball or not, the play goes too long. There was a play last week where I saw Mahomes throw across his body and it was almost picked off by a Denver defensive lineman. So Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league for sure. But put a bit of pressure on him with TJ, and your mate Alex Highsmith is playing really well. Some of these guys like Hayden, Cam, they want a playoff win and they want to push that run to go further. Do they want to do another year in the offseason and try again? Probably not. The mentality is to win now. And the fact that we're the biggest underdog is even better for us. Everyone's counting us out.
Well, that's it. And it's bigger than Big Ben. People sit here and go, Matt, you're an idiot. But it is. It's bigger than Big Ben. As you said there's Cameron Heyward, who's tried his guts out, and he's over 30. There's Joe Hayden, who's never going to get it, may not ever get a chance at a Super Bowl like this, or certainly not with maybe the Steelers if he's not back, right? And even if we've got a rookie quarterback or I'm a veteran, who's to say we're back here in the playoffs next year? We might not be, right? We've missed the playoffs, before
Completely.
in the last 5 years, right?
No.
But while you were talking then, I pulled up something. Everyone talks about that run that we came in and did in the playoffs to win in 2005, right? You know how many overtime games they played in, Mark, in that year?
I'm going to say 4.
And they played in 2.
Ooh, okay.
Right. And do you know what the scores were in those games?
In the overtime,
did they win those games?
I don't know now. The way you're asking that question, I'm going to say they won 1 and lost 1.
No, they lost both.
Oh, I thought I thought that's the way you were going.
Right.
What are you saying here, Matty? What are you saying?
I'm saying, right. All I'm saying, there's a chance because the Steelers have played in 3 overtime games this season, and they've drawn 1 and they've won 2. Right. So we talk about the strength of that team, and even Ben admits that was probably a better team. They had but probably, you could sit there and say they had a better O-line. They, had some, real veteran, leaders in different positions, what have you. But that team didn't necessarily have a TJ Watt, a 10-sack Cameron Heyward, right? And Alex Highsmith with 7.5 sacks. Now, other people, while I'm talking now, can go in and pull up all sorts of stats and compare them. What's the difference? And, I was quite young when all that happened. Right. And there's people in the live chat that have been supporting the Steelers since the 60s. But as I say, there's a real steal to this team. But let's talk a little bit about Mahomes there, because, Mark, you talked about him and him being the key, and, he's an excellent quarterback, which he is. I'm not going to, you'd be a fool not to think so. But, he's had a career high for interceptions this year with 13.
Really? There you go.
Yeah, he has, right? And he's had his almost lowest yards per game since 2017. Then the difference is 0.5 yards. So, he's had his worst quarterback rating since his rookie year. He's been sacked 28 times, which is a record for his career. His sack percentages, it's quite high when you look at what he's done. He's had 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. But that's Patrick Mahomes, right? Now, yes, he's got them into position to win earlier. With Ben, we've got the 5 comebacks, or the 6 comebacks, I think it is, with the Ravens now, and the 6 or 7 game-winning drives. And we've got a veteran 39-year-old quarterback. I mean, these are things you've got to really look at as well. And then when you look at him from an accuracy perspective as well, he's thrown the ball away 32 times this season. That's an over 20% jump on any other year. He's had 7 balls batted away. We know what Cameron Heyward can do.
Oh, big time.
If you look at what Pro Football Reference call bad throws, they have a bad throw metric. He's had 118. That's a career high. Last year he had 100. The year before he had 85, and in his rookie year he had 95. His on target percentage as well. Into where he was actually aiming, including spikes and throwaways, isn't oh my god, outstanding. And then there are some other ratings as well that are specific to Pro Football Reference that they have as well, where 100 is average and higher is better. Well, his completion percentage is marked as 105, so that's average. 110 for his TD percentage, so that's TDs per throw, I think it is for that one. And then you've got interception percentage. That's average at 106 instead of 100. Well, 100's the average part. Last year his rating was 123 for context. All these ratings are within 100 to 110 versus other years where they're 115 to 130 in these metrics. So what I'm saying is this: you've got a very different Patrick Mahomes this year to previous years. And the other thing for Patrick Mahomes, his last playoff game was a stinker.
Yeah,
right. He
time.
rushed for the 494 yards or whatever it was, almost 500 yards last year in the Super Bowl. He's the one that the pressure's on. If for me, you signed a $450 million deal, and you don't win the Super Bowl, right? So you don't win the Super Bowl. You sign the $450 million deal. You have a career high in interceptions. You have a career high across many statistics in terms of poor passing. He's still better than almost every other quarterback in the league. But the pressure's on. The pressure is on at home to the Steelers, who barely made it into the playoffs with a 2% chance.
And we're a warm-up team, so he should win.
That's right.
Why not? Like, you've played. We always talk about sport, Matty. About I never played physical sport because I was a bit of a loser. I just played. I'm only joking. I played like soccer. I played like tennis, stuff like that. When people don't give you a chance and they look at you and say, "Oh, you can't win. You can't do this." I'm not the best looking kid. I don't look like I can kick a ball I can catch. My hand-eye coordination is out of this world. I can catch anything with a blindfold around my eyes, right? They're doing this to the Steelers. They're saying, "Oh, they're just the Steelers. They're awful. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run." Mahomes is going to go in there and throw 35 TDs and win 1,000-0. I don't see that happening. I see the passion that I see with T.J. Watt, that he is angry and fired up. And he's been angry for the last month to get after the quarterback.
Well, I thought you'd talk about that. So I actually have an anecdote with that, right? So there's the team when I grew up in like high school, when we played rugby, we had a team that were local. So it would be kind of like playing the Ravens or the Browns, very, very close. But they were literally the closest school in our competition. In fact, they were in a different competition, but we play each other and have this rivalry. And they were considered to play in a better standard competition with better players, many of which are all go pro. So when we played them we played them just before our full season started each year, but it was all midway through the season when there was a mid-season pause. So when we were 13, so that was the first grade, and we're under 13s, we lost something like in the A grade. So we only the top 2 teams played. We had 6 teams. They go down to like 8 or 10 teams. That's how the depth of their program, right? And so in the 13s, I think we lost something like in the A's. We lost so A's being the top team, we lost something like 70 to like 5, right? And now in rugby, like for all the American listeners, right, it's 7 points. It's 5 points for a touchdown. It's 5 points for a touchdown, or what you call a try, and it's 2 points for the conversion, or the right, which was what the field goal attempt, or the extra point attempt, I should say. So anyway, then in the 14s, we lost something like 60 something in the A's, and then I think the B's lost 40 to like 10 or something. And then in the 15s, I never forget it, we lost 66 to 12 in the A grade, and I was playing in the B grade, and we lost 88-0, mate, 88-0. Right, we got plastered. We just basically stood behind our goalposts the whole time, watched them kick, these extra points.
That must be hard. That must be a hard feeling to know how well and hard that you train, then to get walloped 88-0.
But here's the kicker. Then in the 16s, we came out, right? It was pouring rain. It was a muddy field. They almost called off the game because it's not pros, so that they want to don't want to risk the turf of the field. We played the Bees that day. I played in the Bees, and we won 12-7. We scored 2 tries, and we scored 1 at the death to win it. Toward the end, it was about 10 minutes to go, and they couldn't believe it. They were shell shocked. Then in the A's came on, right, and I played half of that game, through the injuries because we'd back it up. So it'd be like Juju coming back. We won that game 7-5. 7-5. And to the point that the other team, when they were shaking our hands after the game, there was a fight because some of their players were so incensed that we'd beat them. That right now we were playing at home, so it's my that's home field advantage to a degree. But we turned around and we're schoolboys against a team that was way better. The gap is bigger than what is between the Steelers and the Chiefs. And you come back and you win that. And that taught me, a lot of people, you get life lessons from playing any sport. And that's the life lesson there, that every single person can count you out. But as long as every player that gets onto that field believes, good luck.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. Even with my sport,
it's not a fake story either. Like, it's one of the most proudest moments of all.
No, it's unbelievable. Like, you can go out and do that. Like, for me, when I was playing tennis, they look at me and, oh, this guy, can't play. But I used to have a rocket of a serve, mate. Like, my serve was pretty good. And when you go out there, they go, oh, you might play the first set where you're returning and your game's a bit average. But my whole game was serve and volley, and they couldn't beat me because I'm like 7,000 feet tall, and I love that. And I love that physicality with tennis, But I love that aggressiveness that I played with, like, oh, you think that I can't play or whatever. Not that the opposition said that. It was more in my own head. Tennis is a pretty friendly game. In my own, I was like, oh, yeah, you're saying all these things about me, and I'm gonna line up and I'm gonna smash you. I think the Steelers, to bring it back to the Steelers, wouldn't we love to see a special team tackle that just fires our team up? That Killebrew or what gets a fumble off the kickoff or something similar to that nature. I think we need something like that. Or I think one of the podcasters, I can't remember who it was this week on the BTSC, was saying we need to stop them at least on their first offensive drive and send a message. And then the defense will start to get involved in this game. Najee's going to play a bit hurt, so how he's going to run, I don't know. But as long as he can run the ball well enough to get 2nd and 6s, 2nd and 5s, we have a chance with Big Ben, because I think this kind of game with a victory will make them all feel super proud and be like, yeah, look at us. Like, you've all doubted us all year. And that's what it comes down to, is everyone's doubting us, the Steelers right now. And we'll see what happens. And if that comes out and they say, oh, yeah, I just saw this. That's funny. John McEnroe never looked so friendly.
100%. But it's not a not physical sport. Like, cracking a ball at like 100 plus Ks an hour. Like,
it's super fun. I miss it. I used to love if we can do a tennis podcast right now. I know it's a big playoff stuff going on, but I used to love to get around that backhand. When the backhand's getting around the corner and
did you have a double-handed backhand or a single-handed?
Single, mate. I'm single like I am in life. Like the single backhand and just crack it down the baseline. But when you got the chance, you got the short ball, and you got around that forehand, and you just let it rip. There's something about that too in tennis and I'm even passionate about that. But when you let that ball go and you just go, yeah, sucked in, mate, I got you in that. I wasn't the nicest tennis player. I was kind of like like the guy would shake my hand and he'd be like, oh, you play pretty well. And in my back of my mind, I'm like, oh, you hate me. I'm gonna kill you. I don't know. That's just the way I play.
They need this mentality, this week.
They do, and they have it, Matty. They had this mentality, I think. I think when DJ came out this week and said, what did he say to the fans? When we win, you don't get back on the train. And that's it. Mate,
yeah, there's that fire and there's that passion, and it's a key thing. So there are obviously a couple of things people talked about in the live chat as well, but it's important to note that, they have released Corliss Waitman, which is... Mm-hmm. I'm not so much a fan of that move, but I understand the personal stuff with big press, and I get that they draft him, but I don't know how you cannot take Corliss Waitman into Kansas after he punted 2 for 63 or 62, whatever it was, an average of 60 and a half. Yeah. What I can't remember whatever that specific stat was. Juju looks like they're activating him. I think this is incredible. And for a bit of background too, I have a lucky shirt. Now I don't do my ritual every week. I do it for some must wins that what I feel are must wins. But I have a Juju player shirt that I've had for 4, 5, however long we've had him, right? Basically 40 seasons. Yeah, 5 seasons. And it's even got a hole in it now, but I still sleep in it the night before every single game that I think's a must win. And I've had it on since the Browns.
Wait
game,
a minute.
right?
What's the record of that shirt?
That shirt has like an 80 to 85% win rate.
Oh, that's not bad. That's pretty good.
And this season was the first time it was broken in this season where it copped 2 losses. Before that, it had like a 90% winning. That's why I don't wear it every week.
But this is the thing. Yeah, I'm going to say, but when do you choose to wear it? You know, that's the...
I choose to wear it for the bigger games. That's the thing. Right?
So it has to be a big game?
Yeah, or it's a game that I look at the schedule and I sit there and I'm like, they really need to win this one.
So you'll be wearing it tonight
before
bed.
When I go to bed tonight.
Oh, we're crazy, man.
I tweeted it out in the Steelers Nation, Unite, like the fan, that sort of one. They were retweeting it about a year ago. Yeah. So I forgot which game the Steelers had won, but they won the game and I was just like, oh, there we go.
We are crazy. Like I was wearing this year, I was wearing the Troy Pile Army, but they started to lose a bit. So I took it off. And then I started wearing my favorite player, Christian Kunens. And then we lost with him too. Because look at the record. The record's 9-7-1.
See, this is what I don't know what to do, right? Because I've got the Juju jersey, right? And that has a 60 to 70% winning record, right? And I really want to wear it tomorrow while I'm watching the game, but I don't want to jinx it, right? So
exactly, that's what I'm saying as well. Same with your shirt too. If that's 80%, if you choose to wear it, then we do lose, which we are meant to because we're a terrible, terrible team. And then your shirt's going to lose its factor.
That's right. No, it's on tomorrow. It's all things, fingers crossed, everything.
Look, honestly, I know we have to go to a halftime break with the slang here.
No, we don't do them anymore, remember?
Oh, yeah, but we've got to bring it up. I think we have a chance. And I think that every single Steeler fan around the country, around the world, should be pretty positive and happy that we are in this position. And there are a lot out there. The Fire Tomlin crowd is so quiet right now, very, very quiet. And it's like, whatever. And they'll come out. If we lose by 20, they'll come out again. It won't matter. But at this time, I think we've got to rally behind our team. And there are certain spots where I think we can dominate the game with TJ. And I think with Big Ben and Juju being back for the blocking variety and him working with Muth, things will start to happen if we play a good game like that. I think they have the game plan, but if it all goes our way, look out. Look out for the Chiefs because I don't think they're going to run over us at all. What do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, a bit of coughing there. But the other thing I saw this week was a take that sort of talked about the fact that the Steelers, it was talking about, obviously playing with house money piece and what have you. But it also talked about the fact that, for the Steelers and for Big Ben, they really are in a situation whereby Ben can throw things around a little bit if he wants to, right? Because he's not necessarily coming back next week. So it's now on Ben if Ben wants to keep playing. And that's the bit that I love about it, right? He gets to own that decision. It's in his hands. I also saw things this week that said Ben still might come back, particularly if they went further on. I'm like, oh no, that's totally impossible, right? You can't do that farewell again.
I was gonna say, how do you have a send off like that? It's like telling all your coworkers to get stuffed and then walking back 2 months later and say, I got my job back. The send off was too good, right? If he comes back, then the second send off won't mean as much in next year's time.
I know. But before we do our usual sort of halftime little segment, the Cuda says, Marky D, did you have COVID this past week? You seem pretty good today.
Look, I'll be honest with all this COVID stuff. I don't know what I have. I wish health on every single person, to be honest. I don't know if I had it, if I got run down. I've had previous complications with other things in the past that aren't COVID related. I don't want to jump. Like, I think when you see someone sneeze in the street, everyone thinks automatically you have COVID. They could just have hay fever, or they could have something else. Not getting too political on this Steeler channel, but basically, I didn't feel very well. I felt run down. I didn't feel very well at all. A bit like how Maddie feels today, and Maddie's, doing his very best to come on today's show. And that's the end of the day. If you don't feel well, we wish each other health and success. That was my mission this year for 2022, to be healthy and to be successful in whatever we do. There we go. Right.
Sorry about that. I just had a little dog walking around. I actually tested positive to COVID in the last 24 hours. So I'm dealing with that little one myself. But let's see how we go. Hence the muting and the coughing for all those on the visual side. But Snowman, puts $5 in the tip jar. But no question or statement, Snowman. Let us know. Put it in the live chat. And we'll be sure to bring that one up. As well. So, Marky D, it could be the last time we say this. We keep talking about it could be the last time. It could be the last time. Who knows?
Just like I always forget it. Just like Big Ben likes to sling the rock, we like to sling the slang. Is that right? I'm pretty sure. As Maddie goes away, this could be the very last time. I hope it isn't for Big Ben's playoff chances, and for us to sling the slang. I hope that we don't. Maddie said to me off air that I think he has to make up a new saying for the slang. I'll wait until Maddie gets back and we'll go into it. But this is pretty much, this is Big Ben's last chance, last dance. So what's going to happen with the playoffs? And you're back, Maddie.
I'm back.
Oh,
here we are.
Do you want me to start first with the slang, or do you want to give it a crack?
Well, you just said my slang. I literally was going to say give it a crack. I share it with you after. I had it in my top bar. But yeah, that's exactly the word that I had this week, or the phrase that I had.
Is that real? Is that really true? Give it a crack.
100%. I'll take a screenshot of my pick. Like literally,
wow.
Give it a crack. Because that exactly sums up what this Steelers team needs to do this week is give it a crack. Giving it a crack for us, it just means basically going out and having a go and trying something without necessarily being sure that you'll succeed. And just wanting to have that go, give it a shot, have a turn, and try your luck.
Have a turn. Well, I honestly. I'm kind of happy. Like, this segment's going to go on forever, and I will probably try during the off season. I was sick as well. I had nothing again, but with even saying that, having a crack, I got to bring up one saying fair income, because that's funny. How did I nail that? How did I nail that you were going to say have a crack? And it's so true.
I don't know.
Mine this week.
You're like recording my screen.
Mine this week, just for a lot of the new listeners, and we do have quite a lot of new listeners to Behind the Steel Curtain and Steelers Touchdown Under. I think Finn here is one of our new listeners too, so we appreciate that. But mine's fair income. Like, if this is the kind of game, if we go out and we do win this game, it's a fair income game. It's like, wow, how do we do that? Fair income. So you could so many different analogies from Australia that we can get involved. And if people have any questions about Australia, we can relate them back to the Steelers, because I think we're excited here. I know that some of the Australian fans I know, we're pretty excited we're going to watch the game tomorrow, Monday afternoon. Hopefully, Maddie, I don't know if you're working or if you have a bit of time off work to watch it, but if this is the chance that, and even if we having a crack too, even if we do stuff up, who cares? Like, this is the season that we're not meant to be here. The Fire Tomlin crowd doesn't want us here. The NFL doesn't want us here. So it's going to make it more sweet if we do win. Because if we do win, I don't know about you, Manny, but I'm going to every Facebook page, every Twitter. I'm going all over the shop. There's one for you, all over the shop. I'm going everywhere to say, oh, hey, how's everything going? What time do the Chiefs play next week?
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, and I think you were talking about when I was just checking on my dog who had some major surgery yesterday. So he's usually not in here for the podcast and the show, but he is in here, enjoying the show. Got his terrible towel collar on, so he's ready to go. But Mark, yeah, we're gonna have to change the sling and the slang up potentially whenever Big Ben.
Well, we don't know yet.
He doesn't want to play anymore.
We just don't know if he goes on a Super Bowl run. It could be for the next 3 weeks. We're not too sure what's going to happen, and that's the reason why we watch football. That's the reason why you and I love it. Like we travel around the world and we get so passionate about our team because we're the number 7 seed. Yes, we played terrible against the Chiefs, but it's a new game, and we're pretty healthy. Besides a few different things, I think Pierre was on the COVID list, and I did like the way that he was playing some good football as a gunner as well recently. I thought he was playing pretty well if you watch a bit of that kind of stuff. So we'll see. We will see.
So let's get into it then with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mark. We danced a lot around things as they continue their march to the big dance. But we talked a lot about people are going to talk a lot about Heyward and TJ and Minkah and Ben and DJ. Who are the players or player that you think really need to? They're going to be able to bring it home for the Steelers this week. Who's the difference making?
Like I said, I think it's to do with special teams. I think it's to do with the punting game. I think maybe Harvin has to have a pretty good game for the return. I think we need to put the Chiefs in a role where they have to start from their 20, their 15. Set that physicality zone with Derek Watt and Killebrew and UG3. Those fellas, and they're pretty physical. Those guys they have been playing pretty physical football. Marcus Allen was even playing a pretty good role too on their return game. So not on the kickoff returns because you can't return them anymore. That doesn't really happen. It's more the field position with the punting game and getting in that position where you can nail the returner and maybe cause a forced fumble or something of that nature. I do want to see them, go after the block field goal, the block punt, but I don't want to see them give it to the refs where we get flagged again. I think we've been taught how well to do that in scenarios to go and block the punt or the field goal, but they're flagging it. They flagged us, I think, 2 or 3 times this season for Joe Hayden being offside because it felt like he was offside, and that's not right. So any one of those kind of players like that, and CW, he says here, inside linebackers, for sure. Devin Bush can step up, set the physicality zone. Like last week, I think it was Spillane came downhill, and was that the Browns game or the Ravens game? I don't know. It was a massive hit anyway. He hit one of them, and just set that physicality zone of we're here to play football and get them behind the sticks. And like you said, this team is Patrick Mahomes. So you put pressure on him, what's going to happen? They're all going to look to Mahomes and go, "Hey, mate, are you going to help us out?" Whereas I think we're getting to a bit more of a team environment for our Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to, I guess to me, there's an offense as well. So I'll save the offense because I think you deserve a shot at the offense as well because we're doing straight to defense there in special teams, which is right. And I think you call it out. Special teams is key. Killebrew is key on this team and doing some things in that sort of sense. For me, this week, yeah, of course. Like if Heyward, Hayden, Akhello, TJ, aren't going to step up, and the linebackers aren't going to get it done, then we're going to have all sorts of problems. But to me, there's a linchpin in this defense that's appeared over the last few weeks. He's not a linchpin, for their success long term, but he's playing a key role regardless of whatever we.
Wait, can I guess it? Can I guess who it is? Is it Mondo?
It's not Mondo.
Okay. All right. Strike.
It's Chris Wormley.
Yeah. Okay,
because last week he had 7 combined tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 3 solo, 4 assists, right? He had a QB hit. He had he had a pass defense. He had a sack, I think, as well. So, you're looking at a guy here that we've had to rely upon a lot this season. And he's in the last few weeks between going through Baltimore, and looking what he did in that game. He was out against the Browns, but in the games that he's played, over the last few games, and he was out against, I think, KC as well. He's really stepped up, right? He's really stepped up, and I think the way the Steelers are using him with no Alualu, with no Tuitt, he has to step up, right? And you see the pressure when Heyward goes one side, and it leaves him open the other side. It's like times when you see Watt put pressure on the quarterback, and then Highsmith can get that hit, or Wormley at times has actually been able to get that sack as well, or help bring him down. So if Wormley's having an off game and Montravius Adams and they're running through that defensive line, then that's a problem, because on the flip side, the Steelers have to shut down the run. That is absolutely key for this game. When you were off mark with being unwell, Rich and I talked about the Browns. You've either got to do one thing. You've either got to stop the pass or stop the run, and I talked about limiting the pass, and not necessarily stopping it, but you limit it, right? And that's the attitude this week. You're not going to shut down Travis Kelce, Hill. You're not going to completely shut down probably Pringle. You're not completely going to shut down Mecole Hardman if he's playing, right? But what you can do is you can slow their production down. You can make life difficult. And when you make teams that are used to being good, their lives difficult, that's when the cracks start to appear. The Steelers thrive in being in a difficult situation, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen it this year when they have scored a touchdown in the first quarter, and then by the third quarter you're like, how are you behind, right? And so it's about what's your comfort zone, where are you comfortable, and if they make the Chiefs uncomfortable, I talked a little bit about it in War Room. We talk about how good Creed Humphrey is. Make him uncomfortable. Smack the what out of him at the start, right? Put him under pressure. Heyward, put an old school, bull rush, swim move, whatever you've got to put on him. But make him go, uh-oh. Make him question himself.
Just a coat hanger to the face.
Well, maybe you send out Louder Milk just to do that. He's out. He's delivered his, contribution for the game. I prefer him to win, cleanly. But
yeah.
But it's about this limitation. But on offense, let's flip the script. What about on offense, Mark? Who's got to turn it up on offense?
Well, there's so many stars now. I think I don't know who really needs to turn it up. I think the way that how we won games this year is through DJ and the targeting and Ray. But I keep forgetting to mention Ray. But and I'll keep doing it again because I think it keeps surprising me. And I'm putting no pressure on Ray to do anything. But I think DJ getting involved in this offense really opens everything up. Yeah. And the fact now we have Juju back at a limited role will help us even more. I hope Najee can be almost 100%. I think he's got a really, really sore elbow. So he maybe might not run as hard. But the Najee mentality, he runs really hard. And he I call him a true Steeler. Like there's some like true Steelers that you just know he's going to be a Steeler for life, and he's one of the guys. And I know you told me to mention one person, but I keep mentioning everyone else. But I don't know, man. Here's
an interesting one for you. Here's an interesting one for you. And this is where people question whether DJ is a number one wide receiver, right? DJ, 169 targets with 107 receptions for 1,161 yards, 8 TDs, a long of 50. Yards per game, 72.6, right? 72.6. Tyreek Hill, 159 targets, so DJ has more. Tyreek Hill, 111 receptions, so Hill's got 4 more. 1,239 yards, so about 70 yards difference. 9 TDs, so he has 1 more. He has a long of 75, but they've got a different passing offense. And his average yards per game is 72.9.
Right.
There's a difference of 0.3 of a yard difference per game average between DJ and Tyreek Hill. That is the difference between what DJ's offering this offense this season.
They play different games though.
They do. 100%.
Tyreek Hill's that deep threat guy where you go, where'd he go? And he's already 50 yards up the field and he's got a bomb thrown to him. Whereas DJ's route running ability is amazing. He puts the opposition on their bum, like he does a little shifty move and he's away, and he's at more under route and that kind of receiver. where we have like Claypool as our deep threat. So I just like how fired up I think DJ is to be. Yes, he's had a few drops in the last few games, but it's going to happen. And it's not that he's playing really bad. I think he's putting pressure on himself to do really well, but I know he can play well. And if he gets some good one-on-one coverage, I would see him get open 9 times out of 10 at the moment.
Well, and I think one of the key things is, Snowman said we have to win the turnover battle. I agree with what some of the other things I've seen this week, which, I agreed with before I heard them as well, which was hold the ball, right? It's the key to this game. Like, there's often that saying, the best offense is defense. The best defense is offense in a game like American football, because if you've got the ball, the other person can't score if you treat it right. Right? Yes. If you actually treat it right, the other person can't get the ball. And the pressure, I talk about this a lot over the last couple of years. It's about how do you dial up that pressure, right? How do you make it tougher on the other team? We talk about frustrating players and making them uncomfortable. Frustrate Mahomes. Make him, particularly if you get a turnover, you've got to be able to run that football and make it start them going, oh my gosh, we've got to do things. Because when Mahomes, and you've seen it through the playoffs last year, you've seen it at times this season in sort of that first third to middle of the season as well. He wasn't playing very good football because people were forcing him to make throws. And when he's forced to make throws, they're not always good. They're not, right? And so when I look at Najee Harris and his 1,200 yards, Kansas City, their top 3 rushers, only as a collective only have 100 yards more, or so more than what Najee has on his own. They've said Najee's elbow is going to be strapped. He should be right for the game. Like the path to victory is through the holes that the offensive line run down, for Najee to barrel through, and Big Ben to make the most of it in the red zone. The offensive.
That's key, yeah.
That's the path to victory. Apart from turnovers, I agree. They need to have a 2+ difference on the turnover ratio, in their favor. A defensive score would change the game. Like, what we saw last year, remember with Baker, he threw that interception and Minkah at the start of the game at Heinz Field.
Game was over. Game was
over at the start. Now, that's not going to be the case with the Chiefs. The Chiefs will come back at you. But it could be enough on many things. And Finn says, really wish Vince didn't retire. We could use him for run defense. Look, I agree, but I think Spillane has surprised a lot of people this year. I think when he's needed to, he's absolutely stepped up.
Spillane's a hammerhead.
I agree. Like, locking up DJ just has to be key, and this is why, I think the fan narrative shifts on Juju now, right? Like, Juju's worked through in 4 months, like a really bad shoulder injury.
He's got my vote. I was against him. I didn't like his TikTok. I don't like TikTok in general. I didn't really like his antics. But looking at Juju's physicality, he's pretty good. And I had to step away from, because I thought Juju was more about getting the brand, that kind of stuff going on. But you can see that he's a true Steeler as well, and he wants to be there. And he's physical, man. Like, he is 6'3", like super strong now, like muscly as. He's ready to go out and make some key blocks. And I think getting him involved in the run game too, if he's healthy, if he's like 100% healthy, let's get things moving and let's start to move this football forward. I think you're right. If we can get first downs and keep possession and hopefully get touchdowns, not field goals, and then the Chiefs are going to be starting to sweat. Like, the whole crowd in Arrowhead Stadium is going to sweat and be like, oh no, like, what is happening? Why are we down 14-3?
Well, that's the other thing as well. And you see it particularly in a lot of the arena sports like hockey and basketball and what have you. But silencing the home crowd is also key, right? So, is what you said there. If at halftime the Chiefs crowd aren't going nuts, the Steelers are doing good, right? Because they're going to do everything they can. Like, they were going wild that other game, right? They were thrilled to bit pieces.
Yeah.
But these Chiefs fans, after their Super Bowl and after signing to Mahomes to that contract that I talked about, and after last year's Super Bowl performance, they want to win, right? Like, they have an expectation and a culture. They have a bit of a standard, is the standard in their own, in their own way now, or at least temporarily at the moment. And so, as I say, every bit of pressure and expectation is not on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Nothing. Not at all. That's exactly right. There's so much pressure. They're the number 2 seed. They're probably the best, like maybe the best AFC team in out of the 7. You've got Patrick Mahomes and you have the Chief defense are playing really well now. But at the end of the day, every team starts 0-0. And why can't we win? Why can't we win?
And the other thing that I really liked, people talk about saving, Tomlin was asked this question in one of the press conferences, do you save plays for this time of the year and what have you? Sure, NFL teams do save some things in the vault. Although it's hard to imagine it with the Pittsburgh Steelers and what we've had to do and what we've had to delve into to make the playoffs. But for me, the emergence of the tight ends over the last few weeks, like obviously we're big fans of Pat Freiermuth on this show, particularly myself, but Gentry with Pat Freiermuth like last week against the Ravens, that throws the Chiefs something that they weren't necessarily handling a couple of weeks ago. It gives the Steelers something. They're big guys, and it means that you can stack those 2 guys on the field with Najee. And teams are like, are you running? Are you passing? What are you doing? Some sort of other motion play. You got Claypool out there on the side of that, and suddenly you're making Claypool's sweeps, possible. Right?
Well,
you even make DJ sweeps possible.
He made a big block too for us to get into the field goal position. Like for the first point, it looks like he was just standing there, but it kind of worked out. Once he knew that Najee was coming around the outside on the left-hand side, he made a massive block for Najee to run the field. And that's what I was getting at mid-season, where a lot of players, it felt like they didn't know that Najee was going to run until he's told until he's told to stop. Najee wants to keep going. He's an energizer bunny. He won't stop. He will not stop the way he carries the football. So once we get these blocking guys involved, I can see them turning out a 2nd and 9 to almost a first down by running. Like, let's change it up. Let's get Najee involved a lot. Yes, he's hurt, but you and I, yet again, in our careers, have played hurt and thought, I've had sore ribs playing tennis or whatever. And you just go out and play anyway. Do you know why? Because you want to play and you want to win the game. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and Bruce Bergeron brings it up. No Freiermuth, no Lerman last time, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. But Ben in his press comments this week said, "Well, last time I didn't have Freiermuth." Now that tells you a lot, right? When Ben says that, but it's true. He didn't have one of his best red zone targets, right? He's now getting Juju back.
Mm-hmm.
They're activating Washington by what I was able to pull up when we were talking earlier. Apparently, right? They're going into a game with 5 actual wide receivers for once. And yes, Cody White is a wide receiver, but Cody White is an undrafted rookie who, really does special teams, and that's it. But you're going in with the complement of wide receivers that we hope to see this season in DJ, Claypool, Juju, Washington, and then you've got Ray as well, he's earned some respect from me recently.
The only thing I would say is a reason why the NFL is saying that we can't do it is because we haven't done it all year, but it doesn't matter. Like, yes, we haven't scored the points, and I can't see us scoring the points. It's hard. How do we find to get 30 points? How do we keep up with Mahomes?
I don't think we've got 30 points in us. We've got to keep them below 25.
We have a pretty good offense, but how do we can't let if the Chiefs score 26, 27, it's going to be pretty tough, for us to catch up and score 30, right? But if it's a lower scoring game where their defense shows up, then I'm confident enough in our offense to go out and score 21 points, at least, to help us out. You don't want to see, because it's not the way our offense is built. Our offense isn't built that way, with scoring 35, 40 points and just hammering down teams. We're built, like you said, to hold the football, get the time of possession, running Najee, and just hopefully getting first downs and getting our defensive rest to come out and play up by a lead. All those things happen, we have good chance. To say on the other side though, I hope that we don't lose by 40. Like I always say, if that happens, next week will be a fun show. But I'm still so proud of these guys, to be honest. Like, this is one of the funnest seasons I've ever had. Also, doing it with yourself too, Matty, every week talking football.
Thanks,
mate. Up and down roller coaster we've had this year, and being 9-7-1 for a chance in the dance. I'm pretty proud of this team to who we are, because we have the hardest schedule. We have the most, we have 4 rookies playing.
We technically had a new offensive coordinator. Not many
right?
teams do particularly well when they change up their
We
coordinator.
lost all our players on defense, Alawali, all those guys. Devin Bush coming back from injury. There are so many things happening. Minkah's played pretty good, but he's done all the tackling. The emergence of like Terrell Edmonds playing pretty good. So it's been a pretty hard season. And for all the fans saying we had we're the worst team ever and the coach stinks and we need to start again and tank to get a better draft pick. It doesn't work that way. This team has faced adversity for sure. For Big Ben's last ride, why not go out there and try and at least keep up with them and go score for score, 14-14, 17-17, come down to a field goal. Like, it's been a pretty good season, Matty. What do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Give it a crack. They've gone through the adversity. And I just want to watch them play. It's like what Dave said. You have a chance to watch them play.
That's so funny. It's like you just want to see them play. Exactly right.
I just want to see Ben play another game. Snowman brings it up. The Chiefs had a hard time with the Broncos last week, and they almost lost that game. TJ Watt is healthy this time. That's another fake NFL narrative that I heard this week. Oh, TJ Watt couldn't step up. The Chiefs were all over him. TJ Watt was playing through those rib injuries. TJ Watt this week didn't get the sack record on his own. PFF, shamed him, in my view, by not letting him be an All-Pro. On their records, but he's an All-Pro, by the Writers Association, the actual All-Pro award. Man, that guy is angry. And as someone said in their live chat during the preview show, the person put up a super chat and said, and I took that personally. We all take that personally. And you know what? The Steelers take the loss against the Chiefs personally. And that's why this week they're going to go in, they're going to rip in, They're going to get turnovers, and they're going to win the game.
Exactly, because you'd be embarrassed. You'd be embarrassed if, even we played sport, you'd be embarrassed knowing, that guy beat me last time by 1,000. You'd be like, oh, crap. Now I'm going to go out and give my best. There was also another narrative out there, Matty. I saw on Facebook land, there was some pizza joint was giving out refunds for free pizza if the Steelers win. They are so confident. Yeah,
they're going to be short on dough next week, both the monetary kind and the ingredients.
Imagine the delivery fee to Australia. They are so confident, Matty. There are so many posts out there. Retirement party for Big Ben. They're super uber confident.
Yeah, do you know what the retirement party might be? Super Bowl.
Yeah, could be. It's you can't be overconfident is a bad thing. Good thing to be confident, but to be overconfident in some aspects can be a really bad thing. And I sense that in this game. I think they're overconfident.
All right. Well, just like you did last week, when I put you on the spot and you did it, all right? This week, I'm saying the same thing. Mark, are we talking about playing the Tennessee Titans next week, or are we sitting here talking about the offseason?
No, I reckon we are. I think we win. And do you know why I think we win? Because I think it's the Ben's confidence. I think Ben's confidence in this team. I think DJ's confidence as well, saying get off. If we win, don't jump on the bandwagon. And it's so true. For him to say that and to call fans out, thank you. It means they're looking at and watching at some of the shows or getting involved in some of the internet. But they're angry, mate. The defense is angry. We have a lot of stars in defense. If we have a good game plan and they start to use that game plan in the first quarter, second quarter, I think things can move in our direction. Now, I don't want to go out there I don't want the false hope of being up by 21-0. I don't really know if we want that if Mahomes comes back, but I think you're telling me there's a chance. I think there is a chance for success in this game just based on how healthy we're getting back, how Juju's coming back, the emergence of Freiermuth. These different kind of plays, we've been playing different football from the Browns and Ravens game. And then they're no pushovers. Maybe the Ravens are because they suck. But those were pretty hard games, pretty physical games, right? And now we're coming into a Chiefs side who we have versed before. We know our errors. If you know that where you went wrong, you can only improve. That's the best positive take. But even being positive, you can see there are certain facts out there how we can win this game. With DJ getting Najee the ball, holding the football, Ben not doing Ben plays where he gets intercepted. These kind of roles in the game and the defense stepping up, and I wouldn't want to get involved in front of TJ or Alex Highsmith, your mate. This is the time. I don't know what you feel and what your thoughts are, but I think we have a legitimate chance. I really do.
So you're saying there's a chance? All right, here's how I'm feeling. I rewatched the 2 minutes of the Al Michaels, do you believe in miracles? Right. I gotta say, I believe in miracles. My head's sitting here as it does, and you know the way, Mark, this goes when you look at my predictions each week, right? When I split the head and I split the heart. The head says, yeah, like a quarterback like that with Mahomes. I talked about the weaknesses, but he can turn it on. He's got a number of assets. Their defense is not too shabby either. And we haven't really talked about the Chiefs' defense, but that's probably more because we know that the Steelers' offense, can be suspect or doesn't, turn up, sometimes more than 50% or 2/3 of the plays. But the heart says in this team, they don't want to go home. They want to change. They want to change it. They want to prove the fake fans, prove the fake media wrong. They want another week. Cam Heyward doesn't want to go into the off season. TJ doesn't want to go in the off season. Minkah wants to keep smacking people, right? Ben wants to keep throwing footballs. DJ wants more TDs. And Najee wants to just, that guy, I think he loves every inch of the football field. You watch him run, and you just see him get happier as he gets, more of them. He wants to get that arm right so he can stiff arm another bloke, into the off season later on in this postseason. Yeah, they do. They come out and win it. I'm not going to give a score prediction because I don't think we've got more than 25 points on the offensive side of the football. I think it's about shutting down Kansas. That's where they win this game. Look, as I said, head says we're probably, talking about the offseason next week. Heart says we're not. And you know what? Like I always do, I go hard over the head in this one. Steelers are going to come away with a victory. We're going to prove the NFL wrong. And the bandwagon and the hype train is going to start to get real down in Pittsburgh. And then we travel across to Tennessee next week. Then we have a Titanic matchup. And I can't wait to preview it. But with that, that's this week's Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverill with Marky D as always.
Go Steelers!